with your own failure. Where did that bring you? Back to me.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Slacking Off Show. Today, we're going to be reviewing Avengers Endgame. I'm your host, Nathan Wind, and I'm joined by the one, the only, Cameron Messer.
Hi, everyone. How are you doing?
We're also joined by the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. JP Gomez.
Hey, what's up?
So we just got out of the theater. We're going to start off by giving a non-spoiler review, just kind of have our own discussion on our thoughts of the movie.
Yeah.
So for those of you viewing at home, we're not going to go into spoilers yet. We will eventually, and we will let you know when that is about to happen, give you a chance to click off the video.
Yeah, because like, it's crazy to like even think about discussing the movie without spoiling any part of it.
Yeah, it's
because that's kind of the
really
point
hard.
of it.
There's so much that happens, and it's really hard to kind of go into certain things without spoiling it. But I mean, we all enjoyed it, right?
Yeah.
I'm still speechless. I should have brought tissues. I didn't.
That's our review, everyone.
Yeah, that's our review. Go see it.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is that apparently, according to the directors, everything that we've seen about Endgame before going into it with all the promotional materials, they said that it takes only like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and I will say they were right.
Yeah. Oh, did they say that? I didn't.
Apparently, they said like all of the promotional material takes place within the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Oh wow!
So
That's actually, that sounds about right. Everything that I've seen, I think matches up with that, which is really nice. I hate it when those movies decide to just give away like all the major plot points.
I mean, it's hard to give away a 3-hour-long movie.
Yeah, but the fact that it was all just the first 15 minutes, you know.
Yeah.
I actually noticed that in the theater when we were watching it. I was like, oh, that was from the trailer. Oh, that was from the trailer too. And it was kind of nice knowing that a lot of that stuff came up front, so that way the rest of the movie was kind of a surprise.
Yeah.
You know.
Although the thing about that is that it's nice that they didn't spoil anything about the movie. However, it's really hard to talk about the movie without spoiling anything.
It's very hard.
Because the central plot and what is motivating these characters to go forward with it is very deep into this movie. It's very deeply entrenched into this movie. And it involves a lot of plot devices that, you know, we just can't say right now.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure. This is definitely a character story, though. Like, it's a very character-driven film. And I would say that, you know, everybody kind of has their moment. You know, everybody who you want to have their moment kind of has their moment. And in that aspect, it's kind of like the superhero movie everybody has always dreamed of, in a way.
It's a little bit, actually, because I've noticed that, like, for a lot of people, when they're going to see this movie, it's probably going to fulfill a lot of imaginations.
When you go and see that movie, make sure you stay away from getting a large popcorn and large drink.
Yeah, stay away from the large popcorn because it's salty and can make you want a drink. And stay away from the large drink because then you're going to want to go to the bathroom.
I know that fully.
we even told you, like,
Yeah,
why would you even,
don't
like,
want to
get
have a
this?
large drink for this movie?
I mean, it's 3 hours long. I was thirsty.
I don't think there was a single good part to go to the bathroom.
No.
No.
Like,
That's also the thing about this movie is that there's very few parts where it kind of drags. I'd argue that there are some parts, but we could probably get into that in the spoiler part. But yeah, everything is paced pretty well because it has a sort of modes of speed, I would say, as you get through parts of the movie, and I'd say that they structured that pretty well.
it's a lot funnier than I expected it to be.
In parts.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like
definitely worth
Thor
the-
Ragnarok. That's a comedy.
No,
but
it definitely lived up to the hype, though.
yeah, I'm really glad about that, as I'm sure Disney is right now, raking it all into the
And the
box
actors
office.
and director and first AD
Oh my god, yeah, especially
and their agents.
and all their agents. Tony, I can't even say like any of the characters, but essentially like all the original Avengers are definitely raking in the dough.
Oh
They
yeah.
are celebrating.
Oh yeah. Like apparently like okay, like we're recording this at like midnight on a Saturday. So by this time, to my knowledge, their projected box office just for this weekend is going to be at least 1 billion.
1 billion for just this weekend?
Yes.
That's insane.
Yes.
Didn't the
It's
first
actually
one do...
the highest pre-sale sales on Fandango alone.
Yeah, Fandango actually had to make they had to like redo their entire online ticket ordering system specifically for this movie and Captain Marvel because they were released so close, and they knew that they were just going to blow up. And that's the reason they claim why they didn't have their servers crash like many times before.
And movie theaters have to restructure their entire showtimes just for that.
Is that right?
Because apparently some movie theaters are doing like 24-hour showtimes. So there's going to be like an Endgame showtime at 2 a.m, 4 a.m.
Well, just be prepared if you decide to go to get concessions. The lines are long themselves.
It feels like
they were crazy long when we got there.
It feels like everybody on the planet is literally going to see this movie.
Yeah,
like
pretty much.
I mean, do you think Star Wars is going to be bigger?
No.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. After seeing what we saw today,
I don't think so.
Like, I don't think it could possibly be better. Like,
I think
bigger.
pre-sales may be close, but not there.
Gosh, $1 billion in the first weekend.
Yeah.
Like,
now the Star Wars films are I think up there as the second or third. Now.
Yeah, I think it was
second or third.
I think The Force Awakens was the highest grossing film of all time before Infinity War.
Well,
one of
highest grossing
like
pre-sale tickets.
Oh, is that?
Yeah, it had like monster pre-sale tickets, and then for the actual box office results, it's probably like in the top 5. But then, Avengers Infinity War pushed that out, and then definitely Endgame is going to push that out even further.
It's crazy how it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's a little insane,
Would
isn't it?
you see it again?
Yeah.
In theaters?
I think I'd see it again.
I actually was thinking about I'd go see it again.
What about you? Would you see it again?
I actually am going to see it again.
You already are? Have you seen it? Did you see it before tonight, or is this your first time?
This is actually the first time I saw it.
Oh, man.
I was just like anticipating like everything in this movie because I had a lot of ideas for how this movie will go, and it met almost all of them beat for beat, and I was like, wow, they did everything that I wanted to, or at least
All done,
most of the things I wanted. They actually like kind of did it.
Well, for me, I'm not a huge fan of superhero films, but like I talked about Infinity War, I loved that movie, and this one I loved too. And it actually showed me that. And I think you were telling me before that in the right hands, these characters can be loved, hated,
it was like
cared for.
In the car ride home, we were basically talking about how comics in general have had decades upon decades of history and stories built on by tons of different writers. That some of them have shaped truly great stories,
and some not.
Yeah, and some of them are terrible, but. This movie really shows the potential for what these comic book stories can be when given in the right hands.
And I think in most of the MC films in leading up to this, Marvel has picked its directors, and most of them have done and storyteller and writers have done a fantastic job.
I'd say they did a decent job. On average, yeah.
The team of directors and creatives and the crews behind these as well have all done a fantastic job, all leading up to this point.
They've definitely got some talent going for them.
I mean, imagine them, and I think they're doing TV shows now. Imagine if you put all these directors to do a television series.
Well, they're going to make enough money to afford them after this.
Well, what I'm saying is, imagine how great that TV show could be.
Really good.
With these type of creatives.
And
with that, crews behind it too.
You want to give your Disney Plus plug while you're at it?
Oh, they already have. I'm signed up. I'll try it out for free if they want me to, but I'm signed up.
You're signed up.
Yeah, I'll give it a free trial, but then after that, that's about it. But back to Endgame though. Yeah, it definitely
it's worth a see.
It's worth it. It fulfills a lot of ideas and also pulls some unexpected twists and turns.
Out of 10. What's your number rating?
It's over 10. I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
15
beyond
out of
it's
10.
beyond
perfect.
10.
It's beyond perfect.
Yeah, I love this movie.
Wow, I would have never thought I would have heard those words out of your mouth.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll go into more detail in the spoiler
spoiler
edition
section.
and why it's probably my favorite.
I kind of wanted you to just be like, "Oh, it's all right." Yeah, it could have been better.
It did. My expectations when I said this has to be one hell of a movie for all the hype, and it succeeded that.
It's one hell of a movie.
Yeah.
Out of 10.
I don't really like to give review scores, but I will say that if you're even somewhat of a Marvel fan, this has a good payoff and has a good send off for a lot of the older characters, I would say.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I'm hovering between like, at least numerically, like a 9. We don't have an established review scale, but to me that means it's an amazing movie. You know, it's definitely worth your money to go out and see it once, maybe twice, maybe even
It's
3 times
definitely
if you're hardcore.
It's definitely. I used to say, my biggest complaint with superhero films, comic book films, is a lot of them aren't really. I don't connect to them in any way, and I will say that the latest Marvel films have changed that, and especially this one definitely changed that. And I think, again, you should see it. People should see it. People should go in there ready for a world of emotions in different ways.
A roller coaster of emotions,
Yeah.
you say.
I'd say it's a roller coaster. Definitely.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah,
You know.
I can agree with that. It'll make you feel many different emotions, some I didn't know I was capable of feeling.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And with that in mind,
I think that's all I can.
let's talk spoilers. We're all like dodging around the bullet here. Let's go straight into
So we
that.
want to give a fair warning.
Our recommendation is you should go see Endgame. We're about to get into some spoiler talk territory. This is your only warning.
Spoilers.
Spoilers.
Yeah, and like we're gonna go straight into it. So you have until this hand gets to 1 to click off this video. Hope you're gone.
Cut. Just cut the video right
Cut,
there.
yeah.
Cut. All right.
That's all you're getting. All right. There we
Let's
go.
do it.
Right.
Boom.
I didn't actually.
Oh, you didn't actually mean cut.
But yeah, let's just keep going. We got a couple more minutes anyway.
All right. So, Tony Stark's dead.
Wow,
Okay.
you just jumped to the
Just going straight
end.
into
Like,
the
Oh yeah, I'm jumping straight into this. What do you think that means for the implications going forward here?
I hope they don't do any more. For God's sakes, I'm happy. I'm happy.
You're
The
happy.
story needs to end. Let it end. Endgame for a reason. Let it end. Make sure the stories are down in the future, but no more Avenger films. No more.
There's gonna be more Avenger films.
There's got to be more Avenger
But
films.
this was so good.
I have a hard time imagining how they're gonna top it. But I mean, the moment I kind of thought this was gonna be like a big character story. The moment they killed Thanos, like within the first hour.
It kind of is, because it's like, even with the killing of Thanos, it still has to do a lot with character, because one of the major things regarding that particular scene, and that scene happens way early, is regarding Thor's character development.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he managed to fulfill what he originally intended
That
to
he
do.
couldn't do in the first movie.
That
That's
he
that's
couldn't
I
do.
didn't get.
Yeah, he
He
was
He just
all
walked
about
up and
it.
went. I was like, that could have done that in Infinity War, but I
Yeah,
get it.
He
You didn't.
missed.
He aimed for the head, but like, that's kind of like the underlying, I guess, theme that Marvel just had for him this entire time since the first Thor movie, which is that he was expected to do this thing or be this thing, but he often just kind of fails the mark, or like misses the mark, because the Thor movies in particular are supposed to be the expectations of him being like king of Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Infinity War, which is supposed to be the expectations of him, being the one to like finish things, to be the king that he wanted to be.
And they even in like Thor 3, when there's that joke they make of him trying to access the crashed plane, and they're like, "What is the password?" Thor, strongest Avenger.
Yeah. He's like strongest Avenger.
I mean,
Fuck you, Tony.
Yeah. He's like,
I mean, they really played with, making the reference, and they kind of kept him throughout the whole movie as is the reference to Big Lebowski. I mean, and I read about that before I read it. I was like, Big Lebowski, oh God. And
he kind of looked like
they
that.
and they kept it going through the whole movie. I was like,
I feel like the whole MCU at this point is like Chris Hemsworth's modeling career. The many different looks of Chris Hemsworth.
Wild Ride.
no, his look was, I've ate too much catering food.
He drank. He had too much beer. That was the thing about it. He had too much beer, and oh my God!
I threw out my workout plan and just ate catering every day.
Belly.
You guys need to see this movie, if nothing else, just to see how these characters have changed physically.
They're all down in the dumps, and that you see the worst of everybody.
You kind of see the worst of everybody. I wouldn't say the worst of everybody.
Hulk is the exception.
Because the Hulk,
yeah,
that was a surprise because everyone just expects, enter Bruce Banner / Mark Ruffalo. No, he's a big CGI character, but he's like the biggest dork.
He's
out
hilarious.
of all the Avengers.
Like, they know how funny and ridiculous.
Like in the first 5 minutes, he does a dab.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine the Hulk doing a dab? No. Only in Avengers Endgame can you do this.
Oh, come on, take my picture. Yeah.
I wonder if he walked into the Russo brothers like, look, I want to talk as the Hulk. I wonder if he had like some ideas behind that character. Because the Hulk is usually, you can't really understand the Hulk except Hulk smash.
Well, I think part of it was JP mentioned in a previous podcast that they wanted to, like, since they couldn't do more Hulk movies, they were trying to make this arc kind of throughout the different movies. And I guess what their idea was is like, hey man,
run with it.
You have ascended. You have become one with the Hulk. And that's going to be you through the movie. And it is just as ridiculous as we think it sounds.
That's where it went. Although I will say I did kind of find it to be a bummer that they kind of fast forwarded through those details, like how
how did that happen? He's just like, oh, I accepted it.
Yeah, basically that was the explanation.
Like, there's a lot of things.
I mean, look, the movie was 3 hours long. They couldn't make it 4.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
but like we still don't know. So why didn't the Hulk come out in Infinity War? Because the plot didn't demand it. Is basically the.
They didn't have the time.
That we got. Well, no, they had time to fool everybody in the trailer.
I thought it was because Hulk was a bitch. Like, he got his ass kicked by Thanos, and he was like a big baby about it.
Oh yeah, wasn't he like on some other planet or something in that movie? Or was that a different movie?
Oh, it was on a ship.
He was on like the Asgard ship.
Yeah.
And he was trying to fight Thanos, but Thanos is just like way better.
I thought he was trying to fight Thor on
that was in Thor 3.
Okay.
But
yeah,
but
I know because he was like, humans don't like Hulk.
Yeah, that was Ragnarok.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it was really funny to see him how he's changed since then, and kind of like, how useful this new Bruce Banner Hulk creature is. And it's also just really funny. Like,
it is.
They play it up.
Like, did you guys notice the giant breakfast burrito he had on
I
his
did.
plate?
Yeah.
That was a giant breakfast burrito.
Hulk need burrito. And I thought it was interesting. They never changed him back.
No.
The whole movie, he's just
Hulk.
Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, I mean the only time is when he's he jumps out.
Oh, that's right. When he's
His
speaking to the
spirit
ancient
or
one.
something jumps out.
Yeah.
Because that's his spirit.
His astral form.
Yeah.
Or whatever they called it over there. But no, everybody's kind of down the dumps except for Hulk. Hulk's doing good. Thor's got a beer belly.
Yeah, Hulk's doing fine.
Well, I mean, I really liked that, it showed how different each person was handling this. Even though everyone was handling it like hard, like things weren't what they used to be, some were handling it different. Like, Iron Man wasn't living in his rich lifestyle anymore. He found what was important. He found the meaning of life. He wanted to raise a family. Then you had Captain Marvel, who was still trying to get past the love of his life, and
Captain America.
Yeah, Captain America.
There's a lot of captains here.
A lot of captains,
Mm-hmm.
and he was kind of giving advice but not taking it. And then you had Scarlett Johansson, who was trying to all hold it together and keep the team together.
Yeah,
I really liked that it just showed the real, and this is what helped me connect to these characters, is that they went through a massive tragedy and they weren't perfect. They realized like they lost the most important things around them.
That's true, because everyone...
And they failed at doing what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, because like everyone reacted differently. Because like Hawkeye, in the beginning of the movie, he was doing fine until his family got...
and he lost it. He went
family.
ape shit.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Thor. I mean, Thor did what a lot of people do when they go through a tragedy. They just shut out the world. They move away.
Yeah, they play some Fortnite, drink some beer.
They get drunk, and then they blame themselves and they lose hope.
I thought the kind of drunk Thor got a little old after a while. Like, I never really got sick of Hulk Mark Ruffalo here, but I kind of got a little sick of drunk Thor somewhere.
I mean, I did, and I think when one of my favorite scenes with him in it on this one was when he was back on his home planet.
That was with his mom.
With his mom, but it's Rocket? Yeah, Rocket.
Rocket, yeah.
Rocket was like, yeah, you lost your mom, but I lost the one thing that, and she's dead, and there's some people who are somewhat dead.
There's some people who have a chance of coming.
Yeah, have a chance of coming back, and I lost the only thing I had, and it just kind of was like, that's a great moment for writing, because it kind of is one of those things where, like, yes, Thor is in pain, but he has the opportunity to help someone who has a chance. Yeah,
and he needs
his loss wasn't affected by the snap.
Mm-hmm.
Where Rocket's was.
Rocket's surprisingly sensible.
Mm-hmm.
He has a soft spot. He's a good guy.
He really established himself as being a direct to the point character.
Mm-hmm.
He just says things in a funny way, but he's vital.
Yeah.
In this movie, he's vital. I don't think he's ever been vital before.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of see that happening when you watch Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Like, there's a subtle bits of character growth from Rocket, because there was especially that scene with Rocket and Yondu, like, arguing with each other about the Guardians and just how much they matter to them.
Oh,
well,
I remember this.
And what I really love is, like, Iron Man has always been the leader throughout these films, the arrogant leader, but nonetheless a leader and a smart guy. But in this movie, he's like, I found what I want, and I don't want to give that up, and he doesn't believe, like, I should take this risk. I don't want to take this risk. And then he comes around and realizes that I need to take that risk to save those people that I love.
He has to stop being self-centered.
Yeah. He has to say, I need to not put my own selfishness. I got to put that on the back burner.
Let's touch more on that in just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. We're going to take a quick break. Please be sure to join us in part 2, which you can see by clicking right here. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Slacking Off Avengers Endgame review. Keep in mind, we are diving straight into spoiler territory. We've already started on it in part 1, but this is your spoiler warning. We're going right back into it. No more breaks. That was your warning.
I'm just going to put, like, some alarm bells and, like, a big
spoilers
in post. Spoiler.
Yeah, really. And it's in the title, too, and the description. I can't help you if you're still here and you don't want to be spoiled.
Yeah.
Let's talk about where Tony started. You were talking about where Tony is. Let's continue where he is at the beginning of this movie.
I really loved the whole, when they visit him at his cabin or his lake house. And the fact is, he's holding his daughter. She comes out. And
in Infinity War, they even mentioned, he was like, hey, Pepper, I dreamt we had this kid.
Yeah.
It was so real.
Yeah.
So they, like, really hinted at that happening, too.
And again, it was another way. I loved how the writers on this and the director and allowed the audience to connect, because you're in that situation. Well, I have a family now. I have everything I've ever wanted. Why am I going to throw this all on the line? But then they come around to saying sometimes I need to risk this. I need to risk what I love for the greater good. And that's what each of our Avengers had to think of. Even in the end of the movie, where all our heroes come back, they all knew that going up against Thanos, they could lose. They could lose their life. They could lose their loved ones. But losing my own life is more important if that means saving humanity and saving a bad outcome.
I think what's interesting about that is the fact that we kind of see Tony Stark doing this at times throughout his own movies and throughout other movies that he started in, like the first Avengers, where he like actually attempts to almost sacrifice himself for the greater good.
Right.
But like in the beginning of the movie, kind of points out that why he's kind of reverted to his old Tony Stark, because he was reliant and trusting on others, but when it came to Age of Ultron, he kind of felt betrayed by the Avengers because he felt that what he was doing was right.
Right. And then Civil War didn't help anything either.
Civil War didn't help either. It kind of hurt his ego.
Yeah.
And that's why he was like, I'm done with this. We fucking lost. I'm not gonna bother in any whatever you guys are doing anymore.
I think part of it is also that, Tony Stark has kind of always acted, even throughout the movies, kind of selfishly.
Yeah.
Like I don't mean the
That's
obvious, but his motivations in every movie kind of has a selfish ploy.
Right.
And after the first Avengers, it's that he got scarred by what he saw when the Chitauri attacked New York. He was traumatized by that. And almost every action he does from that point forward is to help himself cope with the threat of knowing he might not be enough. Yeah. Him and his team might not be enough. And then after Infinity War, where they lost, he, as you were just saying, accepted.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough. I'm trying to move on. And then he's getting thrust back into it.
Yeah. I mean, and, as an audience member, I know I personally felt kind of like a median. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I understand where the team is coming from, but I also understand where Tony is coming from. And so it's like you start to feel struggle, like, well, who's right in this situation? Were the Avengers right? Or was Tony Stark right? Are the Avengers the selfish ones? Or is Tony Stark the selfish one?
You really could look at it either way here.
So it's one of it's those little moments when you got two characters together or a group of them that there was a lot of great writing, a lot of pulling of the strings of the heart, through this. I mean, in the first 10 minutes, within the movie, I knew that this was going to be a film that was going to be dialogue heavy.
Oh yeah, let's talk about the opening right over there with Cliff and his family, or Clint, excuse me.
Hawkeye.
Yeah, Hawkeye and his family, right there. That was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was also like what I was talking earlier. One of those things that I was hoping that they would do, and they made that exactly how I wanted. I wanted this movie to start with the least assuming Avenger being hit the hardest emotionally.
Right.
That's exactly what
And that's exactly what I wanted.
And another thing,
cold opening.
if you look at it, each of our Avengers characters lost something that audience member could relate to, or want to gain something that each audience member. I mean, if you lost your family like that, you may want to go on a
rampage.
Right, but if you have a family, you like Tony Stark, you may not want to go out and risk losing them.
Well, in a way, those two represent the two extremes, right? Yeah. Tony's trying to move on; he's accepted what's happened, and Hawkeye has not at all. He's just angry.
Yeah,
they're like the two extremes of the.
Yeah, and he was, and what he did in the movie was try to cope with it by trying to kill. I think they established that he was killing like cartel members in
Yes.
Mexico, and I think they moved to the movie moved to Japan. I think to like take down Yakuza members.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was just like anybody who's a gang.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, I
Trying
think
to ease his pain by killing others
by killing others
who are bad.
and I think the implication is that he's trying to cope with the loss of his family by trying to equalize it by killing people who doesn't seem like they deserve.
Well,
to live.
and when this movie started, I felt like it was literally the stakes were high at the beginning.
Yeah.
In a lot of films, the stakes aren't high right away. You rise up to the climax. This movie, the stakes were high. Guy lost his family. Tony Stark is literally going to die in a spaceship until Captain Marvel saves them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
And in
Oh,
that
yeah,
in that moment in the
absolutely.
spaceship, I felt so bad. I felt helpless. I felt like he's at his final moments of living
And his final movie.
and his final movie. He's tried everything, and then all you can do is be supportive. I mean, the filmmakers make you kind of uncomfortable with the color schemes and the tone of the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then Captain Marvel comes in and saves the day, of course.
Yo, Captain Marvel's ridiculous in this movie. She's just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Every time she's on screen, she's just kicking stupid amounts of ass.
I like when Thor walks up and is like, I like this one.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's crazy, but like, I get that they didn't want to put too much of a spotlight on Captain Marvel because she's literally like the newest character, and people are more used to like the older characters.
Mhm.
But man, I didn't really think Captain Marvel was done well, even for the little that she was.
I kind of wanted, like, especially near the end of the big battle scene, I was like, where is she? Where is she?
There's
Oh,
not
yeah.
really character development. They deliberately had to hold her back because she's like the god mode on the video game.
Yeah.
She's just so overpowered. She took down
she's-
Thanos' ship in seconds.
She kind of reminds me of why I don't really like a lot of depictions of Superman. 'Cause
Yeah.
essentially, they're both for a lot of depictions. They're both bricks. They're both flying bricks.
Yeah.
You can't destroy them.
You can't destroy them, and they'll just barrel through and wreck your shit. And that's their character.
That's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And even in Captain Marvel, like the end final fight in her own movie, she essentially did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna plow right through you with my Nova powers or whatever.
And you know what I really love is that they decided, this could have been a straight serious film, but the filmmakers knew, okay, there's been enough deep conversation, enough sadness. Let's add some comedy here. Let's make them laugh a little bit.
There's a lot more of that than I expected.
Yeah. And then back to the seriousness. And then a little more comedy.
I think they just do some of that with, as we talked about earlier, Bruce Banner Hulk. What do they call that now? Hulk Banner?
Apparently, the official name is called Professor Hulk.
Professor Hulk.
Or when Ant-Man came in and they were talking about doing time travel.
Oh yeah.
Like, they're like, yeah, look, please tell me your whole theory is not based off of Back to the Future.
Yeah. He's like referencing all these old time travel movies. He's like, yo, Terminator, Back to the Future, they've taught us this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then they explain how that doesn't work. And I'm like, but don't ruin the movies for us.
Oh yeah, that's also the other thing. Ant-Man is like kind of the key to the whole thing.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Actually, without Ant-Man, they couldn't do anything because
Mm-hmm.
he just so happened to get... No, it wasn't Ant-Man. It was the fucking rat that brought Ant-Man back.
Yeah.
The rat's the key to the whole thing.
MVP of this movie is just a rat that manages to like accidentally touch a switch
Mm-hmm.
to bring him back from the quantum realm.
How convenient.
How
I will
convenient.
say, I really loved that because I knew like they're gonna sum up this movie in weird ways and how they went back in time.
Mhm.
I was like, when they said, "Oh, time travel," I was like, "Oh crap! Please, this is gonna be weird.
Yeah.
If this isn't done right, this is going to suck." and they intertwined all the stories, going back in time, going back to the first, Avengers, the first movie, or going to the Guardians of the Galaxies and cross-referencing them
Well,
all.
I think part of why that was so well is because at the end of the first Avengers, we got the shawarma scene. We know Loki went into custody, and that's kind of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They expanded upon it
yeah.
with this movie, like
But it was
the
done well.
immediate actions.
That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, it was, and it
Could
was
have been
all
very
believable.
bad in the wrong hands.
Yeah, because that was the thing where it's like, the first half of the movie is entirely setting up for a character drama, and then just like as soon as Ant-Man comes in, we're going into a time travel plot.
We can do it.
Yeah,
I have pin particles.
yeah, essentially. And
When he said that, I was like, "Oh no!"
yeah, it's not easy to do a time travel plot. really
Yeah.
yeah.
not at all.
There's always going to be like some inconsistencies.
But I mean, the fact that the filmmakers were able to match everything using old footage and intertwining it with what they actually shot, like when they went back in time with the opening of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
oh yeah,
You got Chris Pratt's character,
That dancing,
scene was dancing and then
hilarious.
punches him. I'm like, at first I was like, did they shoot all these movies like?
I think that's a
Did
combination.
the
of,
Russo
like,
brothers come on set and say, "Okay, James Gunn, you're done for a day. I need to bring in these two characters and to shoot these."
I think it's a combination of like reusing old footage and then just like making up new footage.
Imagine it, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they just reused some old footage. Man, that was really funny. Brilliant use of audio with that part where Peter Quill's dancing at the beginning.
Oh yeah, you have
And
the
they just
music, but then you
cut.
have Peter Quill actually like singing to the music, and it's like, oh yeah, it's not as impressive.
Which is what we all do at home
Yeah,
all
like
the time.
the singing in the shower type of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it was even kind of funny when Gamora's like, "Really, this is the guy that I was like."
It was our humor tree.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh.
it was. I guess for like the end of the MCU, or at least like this part of the MCU, I guess it's a pretty appropriate way to slot in like a greatest hits kind of
Yeah.
moment.
It's almost like what this movie is. Like every character gets their own spotlight.
Yeah.
Well, at least like the main characters.
Yeah. Now, Winter Soldier didn't really do anything. Bucky didn't do.
He
Like-
got the scene in the battle, and I knew they just wanted to bring him back
It's
in.
kind of difficult to take care of that because the supporting cast is literally in the thousands.
Yeah. I mean, they
Okay.
showed up in the thousands.
Yeah,
I mean,
but for like, as far as like, I guess I did a decent enough job with them.
I will say, I got chills
When everybody appeared.
when I saw Doctor Strange's, whole thing
yeah,
start
yeah,
popping.
yeah.
I was like, so he's showing up. Wait, there's another one. Then there's another one. There's like 100 of them, and they all just started showing up. I was like, my whole body just
I don't
vibrated.
care how much money Disney has, and I don't care how good we are at CG. There is shit I saw in this movie on screen I didn't think was possible.
Well, and remember, it's in the last podcast, and I told you guys, I said the battle has to be epic, and I didn't even think about them bringing in everyone from the MCU.
It's like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Everyone is here.
Smash who? I mean, yeah.
Smash Endgame.
And when they said assemble Avengers, I was like, oh, that's awesome.
They earned it. They've
Yeah.
been working up to that point where they're gonna say Avengers Assemble, and they.
I think that's it's a pretty good way to go because it's like
You showed everyone.
because you had like this slow moment in the beginning of the movie. First hour of the movie is slow. Second hour things start to pick up. Then that last hour is where things just went into overdrive.
Oh yeah, they went.
It was when the army of superheroes showed up, it was the battle of all battles. We were literally going to go into war like never before. Like we are working
that
as
was
a
not
team.
a battle. That was a war.
Yeah, we are working as a team, not just to save like our own friends, our own family, or conquer a small villain. We are having to come together for the common good.
We have assembled.
And I'm like, you brought everyone back.
Well, notice they had a lot of like nameless army men too, so that means that you too can be an Avenger.
Oh yeah, just some random, just like thousands of Asgardians or Wakandans.
Yeah, just randos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody's an Avenger
Yeah.
deep down.
And I also think it was very clever that when Peter Parker, like, he had the second Infinity Gauntlet, right? And he was like, and then Captain Marvel came up, and he's like, well, how are you supposed to get it past all them? And then I don't know her name. I'm trying to remember her name.
Which one?
From Black Panther.
Oh,
She walks up and she says, "Oh, she'll have
backup.
she'll have
oh,
backup.
like, yeah, we got this.
We got
Oh,
this."
yeah,
And you showed all the female characters
Which is like
on screen at the same time, all in frame, and I'm like,
on
well
one hand,
played.
like I felt like that was just kind of like a vanity shot. On the other hand, it definitely kind of showed how much progress they've made since
Yes.
having just Black Widow. as
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
only
that
Avenger.
shot was them saying, "What's that? You guys don't think we have female heroes?"
We have
But the
A
fact
dozen.
that
There you
you
go.
got everyone, and I'm like, well played.
That
Yeah.
shot was particularly demanded by the studio. I would bet they're like, "We need to kill this bad PR right now." Russos,
oh yeah.
we need one of these.
But it was good because then they went into action and showed how each of them helped each other. I'm like,
Oh yeah.
fuck.
The woman who you talked about, Okoye.
Yes.
Yeah, you saw her with the spears. You saw Valkyrie flying on her horse,
Yeah.
just like cutting up the Leviathan.
I'm like, oh man.
Let's talk about the hammer. Captain America's worthy,
Okay, so
apparently.
yeah, so
How or why?
we could like, despite
Well, yeah,
like,
how?
any problems people can have with like the time travel plot or anything regarding like character development, like how much they fast forwarded Thor's character arc. That kind of temporarily went away when we were like, "Oh my God! Did you see Captain America holding the hammer?"
He's got it.
And
oh
Thor's like,
God.
I knew it.
Yeah,
The audience went nuts.
They were like, "What is happening?"
I will say the enthusiasm in the audience was amazing.
"Oh, they were looking
people
to
were
clap at
clapping,
everything."
yelling, like, you know.
And that was only like the first part, and then like you said before, all the portals open, and then like the first thing you see is Black Panther. Everyone lost their shit.
Yeah.
Then
everyone's like,
Spider-Man
"Ah!"
came. Everyone lost their shit. Then everyone came.
Yeah.
And everyone lost
People
their
were
shit.
crying in the audience. "Oh, it's Spider-Man."
I teared up. Not when
Like-
Spider-Man showed up, but when like things went down.
I came close. Not gonna lie,
Mhm.
I came close to like tearing up at some point.
Mhm.
But
When Iron Man died, and his wife. That was his wife, right? Yes.
Oh, that was also the
Were
other
they
big
ever
surprise.
married?
Pepper Potts was also Iron Man.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
When
you
she-
too
yeah.
can be Iron.
Yeah,
Man.
like
Yeah.
when she tells Iron Man, "You can rest.
that
we'll
was
be
cool.
fine."
That was really cool.
I was like, I'm tearing up.
Oh,
like,
he's gone.
oh man,
Like,
and
they're
then
really gonna kill him.
you know, cause they hit you back to back. You got Peter Parker, like, you know, oh yeah, we did it, we won, and then you have the wife come in, and I was like, oh man.
Well, it's also they bookended his story. His story really begins with the phrase, "I am Iron Man,"
Mhm.
in the first movie, and that's like, you know,
Mhm.
the Iron Man story begins, and then they ended it with his last words being, "I am Iron Man."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Boom. And I don't know, it was really fitting.
Like, what did you guys think of that moment? The first time you saw the original Iron Man in theaters.
I never saw it in theaters.
Oh well, like the first time seeing it.
I
At
thought
the
it
end
was-
when he was like, "You know what? I'm not gonna bullshit. I'm gonna
I am
just gonna say
Iron
I am
Man.
Iron Man." Yeah,
I thought it was awesome.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
was freaking awesome.
That was a hell of a twist.
Yeah, he was just like, "Oh, he's not gonna play this whole."
No, he's just like brutally honest, and that was like his biggest strength.
You know,
Yeah.
what I really loved was the fact that I'm watching this, and they get the stones back, and I'm like, and they snap their fingers, and people come back, and I'm
There's
like,
a lot of
oh,
snapping.
they did that. I was like, oh, it's gonna be a happy ending now. And when it wasn't a full happy ending, when there was a sacrifice or sacrifices that had to be made, I was satisfied. I was like, because you don't. Yes, most people had the happy ending, but it's not a perfect happy ending. And he even mentions that, in his recording, which was another part that teared me up when his daughter was
really
watching the recording.
He's not a dick of a father.
No.
Ish.
No. And I think that's a testament to Pepper Potts, which you said before about how important it was that she was the one to tell her you can rest now, because that was basically like her or his what do you call it, like sort of humanity, I guess, center of like humanity.
She was his anchor.
His anchor for throughout the whole Iron Man trilogy.
And it's ironic is that in the comics when Pepper gets an Iron Man suit, her name is Rescue.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, her like ironed superhero name is Rescue.
But he says when he finds his daughter in the beginning of the movie that she's playing in the yard or in the little tent. Oh, and he's like, she never wears. It's okay, mommy never wears anything that I make her or I buy her, and then she shows up
in the full suit. Okay,
in the full suit.
Yeah,
I didn't notice that, and I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of like the whole cliche about like, oh, dad works in the tool shop. And mom.
Dad's in the garage again. Mom doesn't care.
And mom's just like in the house doing something. Yeah, all right. That's a bit of a clever foreshadowing.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny. I like that part a lot. But let's go on and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue our discussion. There's still a lot to talk about here. Welcome back to Slacking Off Avengers Endgame Review. This is part 3. Spoiler warning, we are going right back into it. We've been talking about spoilers for a little while, but if you're joining us for the first time...
Spoilers.
Yeah, this is it. Click
You've
off
been
now.
warned.
All right. So let's talk a little bit...
The lake scene.
The lake scene. Which
After
one?
Tony Stark dies.
Oh, we want to go right there? Okay.
I want to go there. It was very interesting on the fact that they went backwards. In a reverse all the way back to the beginning.
Wait, and what
okay, so
part
you
of
start
the scene?
out... It's
Are you talking
like
about when they're showing the audience or they're
all the people who was attending kind of his funeral, and I'm so glad they didn't do it in a graveyard with like military style.
He's too rich for that.
But kind of going back all the way to the beginning, so they went backwards up to the porch where they ended with Nick Fury.
Oh yeah.
So they showed each. All the years, all the people of the movies.
Who is that kid?
Near the deck?
There was some kid like right before.
She was, yeah, I know who you're talking about. He was like right in front of Colby Smulders.
Who the fuck was that?
I don't know.
Nobody knows who this kid is.
I do wish. The one thing I do wish that they did was that it was Stan Lee they ended the shot on.
Oh.
Instead of Nick Fury, personally.
Who did jack shit this whole movie?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm glad Nick Fury was there, but I really wish they had ended it on Stan Lee up at the deck.
That would have been a better cameo.
Yeah,
I
wasn't a fan of the cameo.
It was
That's
lame.
not to say the cameo was like bad.
Yeah, but they said that this cameo was apparently going to be like the cameo. And I'm like,
I don't think they said it was the.
I think they said it was the last.
It was the last one.
Oh, I mean, it could have been way better.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, him just standing there, because then it would have kind of had the mindset like it started with Stan Lee,
and it'll end with.
And it'll end, yeah.
Okay, like Stan Lee says something to Nick Fury, and then like.
Yeah, he could have just be standing there looking at him, or he could have been. Said something to him,
but I think that might have ruined the moment.
It would have. I mean, Stanley wouldn't even need to say anything. I'm just saying, have him in the shot.
But there are a lot of people that don't really know who Stan Lee is, and they're just like, "Oh, it's the funny old guy." And then when they see the funny old guy in this funeral scene, I feel like that might take away from the moment.
I guess that's true, considering how much of a comedic role, for what little role he had. Stan Lee was always like a very funny person.
Because up until like literally a minute ago, I was right with you, but then I just realized I was like, oh, all of his roles have been comedy.
I mean, but Yeah, but that's because they didn't always have to be. I think I've seen him in a serious one before somewhere.
I think the closest thing to a serious one was Spider-Verse, but even that was undercut when you had like a brief pan towards like the fact that he was still a salesman.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm mostly saying because he's passed away. It may have kind of paid a better tribute in turn. He could have even walked up to the daughter or somewhere. I feel like he could have been placed there personally
I
in
could
some way.
kinda see
And
that.
it still wouldn't necessarily take. It could be like when the guy was talking to I guess he worked for Mr. Stark. He was talking to Tony Stark's daughter about cheeseburgers.
Oh, Happy.
You could have had him in there before or something.
I think it would work better with Happy because he was like there with.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is have Stan Lee in that scene somewhere.
Okay.
You just really want Stanley in that scene.
It would have been better, than his cameo personally.
Although now that I think about it, the actual cameo where it was in the 1970s and he was like all in hippie garb, he was like telling at the military guys make love not war. That sounds like something Stanley would have done in the 1970s. He seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah, he does kind of seem like that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Also, it's mentioning Sam Jackson appearing at that one scene kind of reminds me of how they have some of these big name actors show up only for like one part.
Yeah, like
That's fucking crazy.
It may be some long-term contract they have.
But it's fucking crazy how like even like some of the biggest stars only show up like once. You have Michelle Pfeiffer only show up once in this entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael Douglas showing up like maybe twice. Did you guys notice Ken Jeong showing up for a brief moment?
No,
In that Ant-Man scene where he was the security guard.
I did not.
Yeah. I noticed him. Was like, holy shit, is that him?
Really?
How the fuck is he there? And why the fuck is he there?
Because money. Disney can afford
essentially.
him.
It's crazy that like they will just. Even some of the biggest name stars would just willingly.
Sam Jackson's the one who made the most money for the least amount of effort.
Mm-hmm.
He was in like one scene.
But think about having them all on set at one time.
Yeah, you have to coordinate all those actors.
Even if they're just standing there as a camera goes around them and they're all dressed in suits, like.
Oh, today alone just cost us $20 million again.
Probably.
That shot cost us $20 million.
Yeah, like, what do you mean the PA lost the footage?
I bet there was like an entire day of shooting just for that one part.
Probably. I want to go back to the funeral scene though. I thought it was really neat that when they were sending off Tony Stark, they used the arc reactor from the first movie that he took out. Because I remember that they decked it out and said proof that Tony Stark has a heart. I forgot all about that shit, like up until now. And then they used that to send him off. I thought that was really cool because it also bookends his story with the first arc reactor he ever built, giving birth to Iron Man, and they're sending him off with it the same way.
And also like his first instance of character development.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way.
Like how far he has gone since then.
Yeah. Like I thought that was just a super nice.
I liked how they closed Captain America.
Oh yeah.
Too. I mean, that's not only making him older because I'm like he's been around a while. He's getting up there in age. He's kind of looking. He should be a little old, but he was the first Avenger, right? But
Allegedly.
They sent him back in time. We closed off with him being back in the night. What year was it?
It was 70. No, Captain America.
I think it was like. I don't think they ever said exactly like
the year.
What timeline he.
But we closed his story going all the way back to the year that we met him.
Oh, I think it was probably like the 1940s.
Yeah,
it was World War
Peggy
II,
Carter.
right?
Yeah, it was World War II. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was when he first met Peggy Carter, and
yeah,
he probably wants to. Yeah, like for as much of this movie is Tony Stark's, it's also a lot of Steve Rogers' story.
I mean, look at the poster behind you. The two people in the middle of this poster are Tony Stark and Captain America. When you
they're
really
also
look
like
at it. Doing the same look.
The two first billing names in the poster too, Robert Downey Jr. and then immediately after Chris Evans.
Look at that.
Yeah.
But I think that was a great way to close his story out.
Yeah. And
I mean, it was what he longed for the most.
He
You
got
know,
to live a life.
And she asked, and what was very interesting is like when he's older, in his 70s or 80s, and what's his name? Sam asks him, you know, hey, he looks and sees the wedding ring. He's like, hey, do you want to tell me about her? And he's like, no, I don't think I will. And I thought he remarried at first, and then they went back and they showed us him in the 40s, and I'm like, oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
Because it's like if he told him, it never would have happened. Maybe.
What do you think of him passing on the torch?
I don't know that much about like the post Steve Rogers Captain Americas, so I don't really know how they'll go. But I think it'll be fine.
I think it was done well.
I think it would be done well. It depends on the type of writers. But what I want to talk about in regards to Steve Rogers specifically, I think one thing I've noticed, or one thing I've thought about in regards to the character developments, is that both him and Tony Stark kind of learned something from each other. You know,
I hope so. They went head to head with each other at one point
throughout all of the movies, and I think it kind of worked out better for the both of them because Tony Stark learned how to perform for the good of others, and Steve Rogers had learned to have things valuable to himself.
Yeah,
because before he was like,
they were complete opposites.
They were complete opposites, and he was like an open book and was willing to help anybody.
Because I'm Captain America.
But you realize is that, you know, Tony Stark realizes Captain America, you know, he's right. Like, I have to do this, you know. But Captain America realizes Tony Stark is right. They understand where each of them are coming from, and they have that type of friendship and relationship. Like, yes, I understand where you're coming from. You understand where I'm coming from. And they respect each other. You know, that's why they stick by each other through every battle.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people were theorizing that, like, instead it was, like, Captain America dying and then Tony Stark, like, living on through the next movie. And this movie kind of did the opposite, and I kind of prefer it that way. Because it shows that they learned something from each other.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in a weird way, they're both kind of out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're both out of the picture, but...
They both got what they wanted.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think it's really interesting to see if that kind of clash in leadership happens.
You know what
going forward, because now Thor is not on the team anymore. It's implied he's going to be a Guardian of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
So who do you think is going to butt heads with Brie Larson? 'Cause they said in multiple interviews that Brie Larson is going to be helming the Avengers going forward. I mean,
does she need a team? Like,
yeah,
no.
clearly she doesn't.
Does she really need a team? She's like a flying brick. Does a flying brick need a team? No. Then again, like the Justice League.
You know what's?
Yeah,
I'm not sure. I really want them to take a break from the Avengers themselves and start telling stories with new characters.
Well, we got Spider-Man Far From Home in just 2 months.
I know.
But that's going to happen.
You know what I found really interested in is when I was watching Infinity War, I felt bad for Thanos. I really did. I understood. I didn't respect what he was doing, but I understood what he was doing. And Infinity War was really Thanos' story. Endgame, I hated Thanos.
Yeah.
And it was the Avengers' story and what they had to lose. Infinity War was what Thanos had to lose to gain what he wanted. It was the opposite for this movie. And, you know, and I think you mentioned this, you told me that in this story, they had to experience what Thanos was going through.
Yeah. I was basically talking about on the car ride home how the reason we related to Thanos in the first movie was because we got to kind of witness him collect all the different stones. And especially with the Soul Stone, we had to witness him being oddly human, sacrificing what he loved most to achieve his goals. He basically showed he was not going to stop for anything. The difference is with this movie...
He's power hungry.
Well, no. It's not only that. we are now watching characters we already cared about and are already established having to go through the same trials and tribulations. And it's more impactful because we already cared about these characters.
In this film, you're on your seat, like grasping and trying to hold on to these characters that we love at fear that we're going to lose them.
And it's also a test of their will in general.
In Infinity War, we're not really doing that with Thanos. We're kind of just following him and learning more about him and seeing, like, okay, I see what you're going through. But with this movie, we as an audience are going to struggling with the fact that, oh my God, I could lose these characters that I love. And we do lose.
Oh, yeah, we lost Black Widow.
We lost Black Widow. We lose, Tony Stark. We lose Captain America, in a way. So we're, and that's the difference. And I think that's a really powerful thing, especially after all these years that the filmmakers and the audience have grown to love these characters, hate them at times. They're part of our family. And so in this movie, when they're all battling and we lose a couple of them, they die, we feel bad because we're like losing a loved one.
Yeah.
And we kind of feel like, you kind of feel betrayed by Thanos a little bit in a way because, okay, I understood you did what you needed to do. You got your vengeance, but you come back for more.
I think it's along the lines of where we're not mad at Thanos for what he necessarily did in the first movie. We're mad at him because whereas before it was just something he believed in, I feel like this time it was personal. This time it was not because he was doing something because he believed in it. He was doing something because he was afraid.
He's afraid of losing his destiny.
Yeah, he did use the word destiny a lot.
Yeah.
He viewed himself as like this natural force, this unstoppable entity that kind of is like what Galactus is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Well,
he's just
if you look at the part where he's like, when I destroyed 50% of the population, I thought you could, see what you could have, and I was wrong. So I'm going to essentially wipe you completely out.
I'm just gonna say fuck it.
Yeah, I'm gonna wipe
fuck
you
this
out.
shit.
And he's like, and I forgot I think it was Captain America was like, well, it's gonna be a planet birthed out of blood.
Oh yeah, because he's gonna say like, I think it says something to the effect of like the new universe is gonna be born out of blood.
But it will be a universe that is grateful or something. I can't remember the
No,
exact.
he basically said, yeah, but they won't know it. They won't know. They'll grow up in paradise. They will never know what it was founded upon.
Basically, like the idea is that he preferred a universe that lives in ignorance.
Yeah.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss. Yeah,
No.
that's what I was trying to say.
I mean, but I want to touch on one thing that I thought was a little weird about this movie compared to Infinity War. We already know that Thanos was stupid powerful.
Right.
But without the Infinity Stones in this movie, he's ridiculous. Like, especially compared to what we saw him do in the last movie, right? Where the Avengers were like, particularly like Tony and them and Doctor Strange were fighting him on whatever planet they were on.
Yeah.
And he had Infinity Stones. He's hurling fucking meteors at these dudes, like moons and shit. And in this movie, he has no Infinity Stones. Thor has 2 hammers. Captain America has his shield. Iron Man has Newt Ek. And they're still not being able to take this dude down. I'm like, okay, there's some power scaling issues here because he was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous.
I think the fact is, like, when he got the Infinity Stones and the gauntlet, he's like, oh, I have all the power and I can do all this. But the stakes were higher for him. He says, at this moment, I have to find them again. And I have to do what at all costs, I don't care what it is, I have to stop these guys or they will change the fate of, my destiny. So that, in my opinion, the stakes were higher for him in this movie. So he calls his army out.
Okay, so I guess the idea is that like his fighting style in Endgame is driven by his concern that
His
they're gonna
concern
change
to
the
lose what
universe.
is already been claimed his.
Because he says that he's inevitable,
Yeah.
and like his concern is that they're trying to fight against the inevitable.
Yeah.
I never really looked at it that way. I can kind of see where you're going with that.
Yeah, I think that part is sound, but like the rest of it, like the whole part where he's like gonna remake the universe again,
That's
it
bullshit.
it kind of sounds like some generic villain stuff.
Yeah,
but I
I'm
get
like,
what he
you
was
just
doing.
you
with
just
before.
went from being pretty deep to not so deep.
He
Like-
doesn't want to take over the universe. He wants to create a new one.
He's like, oh fuck this! I'll just be floating around and I'll just remake it in my image. There's a lot of snapping going on in this movie, and
Oh yeah,
I don't know how I feel about the fact that whether it be Hulk, whether it be Tony, everything is done with a snap. I'm like, who decided that snapping was the most efficient way to?
Thanos.
Yeah, I guess so. But everybody came back after the Hulk kind of made his snap with the gauntlet that Tony made.
Mhm.
Do you think it should have been that easy? I mean, yeah, they had the battle to get the stones and all that, but do you think it should have been as easy to reverse as that, or do you think it?
Oh, let him did it.
I mean, it was. I mean,
My question is, if you snap twice, would it reverse it?
well, here's the thing though.
But
S-
'cause
snapping,
Thanos
the
died.
snap is like making a wish, I guess.
making a wish, but like the thing is that the snap can fuck you up.
Well, because no, they
Yeah,
they
no
snapped.
kidding.
Okay, so Thanos snapped, and you lost 50% of the population. They got everything back, and the Hulk snapped when he did that, and then when Tony Stark did it,
We don't
Thanos
know. We
died.
don't know what exactly he snapped away. We just
But-
know every villain on screen.
Yeah,
is
so
gone.
did you snap? That's what I'm saying. Like, what happens? How do you control the? Who
The
gets
Mind
killed?
Stone.
I think it's one of those.
Is
like,
it what
wishing,
you desire the most? Is
I
it
think
one of
it's
those
ju-
things?
I think it's entirely like it's a just make a wish, just like whatever you imagine in your head is gonna happen. Because it's literally like
$1
he's
million,
bending
please.
time and then space and then reality. You know, he literally has all of that in his hand. So I guess that's the idea.
They just snap and make whatever you want happen.
So
Yeah,
why didn't they snap
essentially.
again and
Thanos
bring
is
back
gone.
Tony
But
Stark?
there's like a huge price tag.
Yeah, this snap, and I don't think it happened like that. The first movie. In the first movie, Thanos did the first snap easily, and it was the second snap that they kind of showed fucked him up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I guess if you snap too hard,
Maybe it's the fact that every time you snap, you lose a part of yourself. I don't know.
No, I think it just literally physically hurts you that much.
you get the power of the universes.
You have the power of the universe. That's a
in
lot.
your fingers.
That's
That's
It'll
a
fuck
lot.
you up if you don't know what
Would
you're doing.
you
Okay.
want those Infinity Stones? Or do you think it's too much power for one person?
I believe
It is-
both, and my answer
it
is
is
still
too-
yes.
It is too much power for one person. They killed Tony Stark.
Yeah, and then Tony Stark decided to just kill everybody else. So
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
No, did he? He killed
Yeah.
people?
Tony
Oh, yeah,
snapped
well, yeah.
his fingers and erased them all.
He didn't erase everyone. He erased the bad guys.
He erased like
Every one of the
all
bad
of the
guys.
bad guys.
Yeah.
So that means we have no villains in the MC anymore.
Oh, that's it. MC's done.
No, no,
Tony
no, no,
Stark-
no, no.
Tony Stark killed
All of
himself.
Thanos' bad guys. What I want to clarify.
Okay. I was
All
like,
of Thanos' bad, like his entire army. He doesn't know of any other bad guys.
oh, I hate to tell you guys this, but now since Disney owns Star Wars, there's a chance that Darth Vader could roll up into a Marvel.
No.
That's stupid.
It'd be
Could.
really
It
bad.
could, but it'd be bad.
It would be bad.
Terrible.
Yeah.
But he
Uh,
can legally.
I'm pretty. What do you guys think of the Nebula and Gamora relationship in this movie?
You know what? I'm glad you approached that because I wanted to talk about like a really understated character development, which
With
is
Nebula.
Gamora.
Oh,
not
good-
Gamora.
Gamora.
Nebula specifically.
Okay. Yeah.
Because like when they open the movie, it's kind of like different from like your usual Marvel opening, because it's like
All gloomy.
gloomy, but also like kind of starts off a little.
They lost their
friendly.
loved one. What do you think would happen?
No, he's talking about in space.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
Tony and Nebula were in space and they were just playing like paper football,
Yeah.
and that was an interesting opening to go with that. But like,
It's
the
kind of
more I
like
think about that-
post-apocalypse.
yeah, but like in regards to Nebula, I think it like showed a lot of growth for Nebula because
Yeah.
in the beginning, she was just one of Thanos' children, you know, and she was like
Full of hate.
sadistic, yeah, and you know, as time goes by, when we get to Guardians 2 and Infinity War and then Endgame, she kind of shows some growth because she interacts with someone who's human, like Tony Stark. You know,
But she's kind of that character that is the curtain's been pulled over the eyes throughout all these movies of like, oh, you know, oh yeah, I was like loyal to my father, and then I've realized how evil this man is.
how evil, and also like there's a sort of grass is greener on the other side kind of element to her because like the whole paper football thing is kind of showing her like how she views things because it's like she thought she's been conditioned to the idea that everything is kind of like a life or death situation.
Yeah.
And the one time where she like actually wins, it doesn't really mean anything. It's just
But she also lost her sister. She
she lost her sister.
that she had a terrible relationship with, and then when they finally had a relationship, it was taken away from her.
It was taken away from her, and
From
also
the person
fact,
who she had a big loyalty towards.
and also the fact that like she keeps losing body parts every time she loses. So like the one time she wins, you know, it doesn't have to mean anything but friendship. And you can kind of see that even in the beginning of the movie when like Tony Stark offers her some food and she's like, no, you can have it.
Yeah, you do get to see that, and it's almost as if when I jump straight to the part where she shot herself, it's almost like she was killing
The old
past
self.
self.
her past. Yeah, it was very metaphorical and
Well, and you know what's funny is that you mentioned she always loses a part of herself. And in this movie, Thanos goes after the one thing that her memories. The one thing that she held close to her that, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, you know, they can take everything, but they can't take things up here. You know, Thanos got into her mind and was able to access her memories and use it against her. So nothing that was hers was, you know, not off limits.
Yeah, Thanos
you know?
can do a lot of things.
A lot of fucked up things.
A lot of fucked up things.
Mhm.
He's a great guy. Thanos for president.
No.
On new decimated Earth. But let's go on and cut and continue with, I guess we're going to go to a part 4.
Yeah.
Let's go to part 4. Welcome back to our fourth and final part of our Avengers Endgame review. Spoiler warning, if you haven't been keeping up with us up until this point, you should 1, go back and watch the other 3 parts, and 2, be warned that we are jumping straight into spoiler territory. With that being said, that is your final warning. Let's get right back into it. So, one of the most tragic deaths in Avengers Infinity War was the death of Mr. Peter Parker himself.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And his triumphant return
Mm-hmm.
in Avengers Endgame brought tears to many of people's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
How did you guys feel when you saw him come back on screen?
I was like, yay.
You weren't like, whoa.
I was excited that he came back. I mean, I was equally excited when I saw everyone show up, though.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't have that special place in your heart?
Not until him and Tony Stark showed up, like, right together.
Not until they had their, like, little hug.
Yeah.
Really long hug.
Yeah. I didn't quite feel as strongly about Spider-Man returning as I did about Black Panther returning. I guess because it's like that first part was like the first time we actually see the results of the snap.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, it was exciting to see them come back. Spider-Man is just like, yeah, he's back. And him too, you know?
I think was it in the theater that the audience went nuts over Spider-Man, or was it Black Panther?
I think they
both of them.
started going
I think
nuts
they
on
went for
everyone
both,
started
but
showing up.
those two in particular garnered the most applause, I think.
I also say Doctor Strange.
I was personally really excited to see Doctor Strange back.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Doctor Strange, 14 million outcomes. I guess this was the one.
Yeah, and he made the gesture too. He just did this,
He was just
and then
like,
Tony Stark was like, "Okay, yeah, I guess this is it."
"This is it. Boom, I'm out." I mean,
Fuck.
yeah.
Like, damn. Such a
14 million outcomes, and one involved a rat.
Yeah, right? 14 million outcomes, and we just so happen to have this one rat. Thank goodness that one didn't die in the snap in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
Because what if the rat was gone?
And I'll say what's really great about that the war scene is that it wasn't just action. You had the reunions, you had people hugging it out, you had
Funny interactions in battle between like Thor and Captain America with these two hammers.
Oh yeah, because they're like, "You want to swap? Sure, yeah, okay."
Yeah,
get the little one.
You give me this one.
You know,
I mean, when you're both worthy.
I also liked, it was great. It was like, because Tony Stark felt like it was his fault that Peter Parker got killed.
You even see that where he has a picture of him.
He does. You see that. And when he just hugs him, there's hardly any dialogue from Tony Stark and a lot from Peter Parker. It's like explaining, like talking real fast, and it's like, this is a good moment.
Well, as a Spider-Man fan, I just now realized, we're all Spider-Man fans, but like, what I was really worried about with this reboot of another reboot of Spider-Man with Tom Holland, is that he was kind of just going to always be under the guise of Mr. Stark. Mr. Stark was always going to be watching over him and teaching him. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's part of Spider-Man. I think he needs to be inspired. But I think part of the character of Peter Parker is that he fails over and over again. And now that Tony Stark is gone, I feel like he'll really be able to come on his own.
I think it's going to help Peter Parker grow. Because I feel like he's going to look back at all the life lessons that Tony Stark taught him. And I'm sure we'll see flashbacks or things like that, or some creative way, But you even see what's very interesting is at the end of the movie where people are kind of getting reunited with their family and stuff. We go into Peter Parker's school, and you see Peter Parker and his best friend.
Why are they still in school? It's been 5 years.
Oh, wow, that's right.
I was asking when I saw Ned and they were still in school. I was like, wait, so you guys are still going to school after like half the life got decimated?
Ned
didn't get decimated? Did you get decimated? Why are you still in school?
Those are all like very good questions. We don't quite know exactly how the snap affected like the infrastructure.
All I know is Ned's performance
clearly it did not affect public
Ned's
education.
performance was fantastic on the screen. Peter Parker's friend.
Tom Holland.
No, Peter Parker's friend.
Yeah. It was definitely.
It was a great.
It was good. I was like,
didn't make any damn sense.
It was a great
moment.
For the brief moments.
For the brief moment, it was great.
It was good.
I mean, yeah.
I guess that's sort of like the big question going forward is like, this is they're all supposed to come back after a 5-year time skip. Like, how are future movies going to address this?
Do you think they'll be as dark as?
It doesn't even need to be as dark.
Well,
it's just like how are they just going to handle this?
Right. I mean, what I'm saying is, do you think the movies are going to be kind of about rebuilding society after the snap, after this whole issue?
I don't think so.
Maybe.
I think it could be, but I feel like at this point,
because I don't think like Peter Parker, these characters are going to be. I think the movie is going to get referenced. Oh, like after the snap, like this, like things are going to be. Society, I'm sure, will have to be different. It's not going to be the same as before.
No, I mean, I'm not saying that it's going to be like, oh, well, the snap happened. Oh, yeah, forgot all about that. I think it'll still be relevant. But what I think is going to be building up to the next Avengers is there's going to be another threat. It may not be a Thanos-level threat, but there will be another threat coming that forces these new people who have taken up the mantle to come together as a team. So The first Avengers movie was all about getting these misfits to work together. Now we've got new misfits who are in many ways arguably not as powerful as their the people who previously held that mantle.
Right.
Having to come together to fight off some other evil.
Yeah.
It probably won't be a Thanos scale.
I think it would, if you're going on those guidelines. I think it would be kind of like, one person who knows like we need to do this, and others that are worried about the threat and worried about, are we worthy enough to take up that threat.
Clearly Captain America is.
Could be Tony Stark's daughter decides to take vengeance for losing her father.
That's one way to do it. Just, we're gonna reboot Avengers 5 in like 30 years from now.
That would be super lame, but
it would be lame, but you never know.
Oh man,
I guess on that note, I'm kind of a little concerned for how Far From Home is going to, I guess.
When does that movie take place? Is it before
we don't
the
know.
snap?
I know. Apparently, it takes place after Endgame.
Okay.
Oh, really?
And that's my concern, because I feel like the writers probably don't know what goes on and what was going on with this movie while they were writing it.
I mean,
So-
from my understanding, the Russo brothers had talked to all the writers and the directors.
Did they?
They I know they talked with James Gunn, and they tried to make sure all the storyline and the characters were working together
Okay.
because of the big Avengers. I don't know if that's also if they had any influence and met with the director and the writer for the Spider-Man series.
Oh, thank God! Now that we've seen this movie, the whole plot of Far From Home cannot exist based on I decided to stay on the bus from Infinity War that we talked about like an episode or two ago.
Right.
Because I saw it, I saw the possibility of it, and I was like, I really didn't want them to do that. That would have been really lame.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I'm kind of worried about Far From Home as well.
Do you think
just 'cause the stakes aren't.
do you think that the audience is going to keep Avengers Endgame at a high mantle that to where they're going to judge all other Marvel films after it that come out to say, Endgame's better than Spider-Man or the next Black Panther?
I think they're gonna judge every title with the name Avengers
up to it.
Right.
up to that. I don't think anybody's standalone movie is gonna be judged up. But if they're now at this point, if they have the balls to slap the word Avengers on something, it has to be epic.
It has to be at least really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because
It doesn't need to be the same scale.
No, that's just gonna be like chasing. You might as well just be like flying towards the sun.
Yeah. Well, and the reason why this movie works so well is all the years that we've built up to it. You can't just come out with another one
That's also the other thing.
right now.
Avengers checkmate.
I think it would be really cool to see new characters and for them to kind of do the same thing in terms of give them their own standalone films, and then over time have them come together and us start to fall in love with all these characters. And then so that's why I think these past two movies were very successful, is because over the past, how many years has it been since I've been doing these? 10?
2008 was Iron Man 1.
So 11.
So 11 years we've had time to grow and love these characters and them be part of our family. If you do that again with a whole new set of characters, I think it'll be in 11 years you'd have an amazing big film like this.
The only way I could see it being bigger,
Thanos' son.
No, is if this Disney Fox merger means we can have both X-Men and Avengers. Then they have a potential to top this.
So what you're saying is-
movie.
I'm waiting for a Deadpool kills the Marvel universe. I'm waiting for a movie of that.
So, okay, they didn't write the trajectory of the MCU based on the X-Men or Fantastic Four franchise, because they didn't know if they were going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they do, I'm pretty sure they're going to write that in within 5 years.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, this could be the
So we could
end
have a
of
good
that
Fantastic
chapter.
Four film.
And we could. This could be the beginning of a new chapter of Marvel Studios where they essentially reboot the Marvel Cinematic Universe with X-Men franchises, Fantastic Four built into it.
mm-hmm.
The next set of movies could establish that.
Mm-hmm.
They take place in an MCU. and then we could just end up with something on an even grander scale, if it's even possible at this point.
Yeah, like I read one theory that like, not everyone that came back from this app turned out exactly the same way, and that's like the introduction of mutants.
Oh, so they've
that's
Like they
clever.
didn't come back quite right.
Yeah, that ooh.
oh.
And even Hulk said, "I tried." You know, when he was like, "But I couldn't do it." That would be really interesting. Wow, man, these people are already theorizing.
Yeah,
Making good theories at that.
and you know what that means when the Fantastic Four comes back. We'll have
a good one.
We'll have a new Tony Stark replacement.
we'll have a good one, and we'll actually have a really well written Doctor Doom.
Yeah. Isn't he an Avengers villain? Dr.
He's
Doom at
like
some
in
point?
everything.
He's like one of the biggest villains for
He's
Marvel,
huge.
but he's like tied to Fantastic Four though.
Right. He's specifically their villain.
I would really like to have a good Doctor Doom.
So 6 years, count it.
Avengers 5, Doctor Doom.
6 years. The next Avengers is going to be the Rise of Doctor Doom.
That'd be okay.
Oh,
I can get behind this.
And the Thing versus Hulk now?
They're Professor Hulk. I don't believe in violence.
Oh yeah,
Gray
But
Hulk.
didn't he say like? Didn't he look at his past self and he's like, I really don't like doing that whole thing. It's kind of gratuitous.
Yeah, he just looks at himself and he's just like, oh, I'm more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm-
like
I'm
what?
better
Are
than
you
this.
talking about when he's back in New York?
Yeah, back in New York.
And you see like from the
Rawr.
first movie, the first movie he's like
Rawr.
bam, boom, boom, and then he goes through and he hits the cab like
he's just like,
bam, bam.
shit.
This isn't me.
Yeah. He's like, oh, smash.
Smash. Yeah, I guess. That
More
was-
wine.
It's kind of like when you look back at your old Facebook posts when they do their, oh, this is what you posted 5 years ago, and you're like, why did I post
So-
that?
It's like, oh, I'm much more sophisticated.
So Professor Hulk's first Facebook picture would just be like regular Hulk. He'd be just like,
Ah. Now it's like,
No, now it's him with the kids.
oh yeah. He used to be a super edgelord in the 2000s, and now in 2019, he's fun with the kids. He's
Oh,
family
man.
friendly.
You guys gonna buy this on Blu-ray?
yes.
Oh hell yeah.
Or are you gonna buy Steel? Are you gonna hunt down a Steelbook? I'm gonna try and hunt down a Steelbook.
Yeah.
What do you think is gonna be on the front of the Steelbook?
Thanos' head.
I wouldn't mind the Iron Man gauntlet. That'd be kind of cool.
Thanos' head severed.
that would be a bit spoilerish. I can imagine it would be the white suits.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can't
Time
wait
travel
for that
suits.
fucking hoodie to come in because that suit really grew on me.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Your $100 hoodie.
Yeah, I bought this stupid $100 custom-made hoodie that's not arriving until
Could have
June.
spent $19 more and the leather jacket.
Eh.
Eh.
I'd rather look like I'm actually about to go time traveling. Maybe one day I will. Maybe
Okay.
I'll go into the future. I'll come back. I'll be
Do
like,
you
guys,
think this?
Avengers 7.
So Black Panther got nominated, and correct me if I'm wrong. It did win something, right?
Best costume design.
Best costume design. Do you guys think that this should be nominated for Oscar for best picture directing? I think it's up there for best directing so far. In my opinion,
I could see it being for best directing because just balancing the massive amount of characters.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the stage is kind of set for this kind of movie to get like a best picture nomination.
yeah, I did.
Because
too.
it's like, I believe, last I recall, like Lord of the Rings: Return of the King was like the last movie in the trilogy, and it was like really epic and all that, and it also like won best picture too.
Oh, is that right?
This
Yeah.
could be up for a best
It
picture.
could be another Return of the King type of situation.
I think this movie is definitely of high enough quality to be considered for best picture. That'd be really kind of cool if it did. It really is kind of the end of an era here, and it was really good. Just shoot, I would like to see it nominated, but I haven't seen a lot of the other movies that have come out this year that
Yeah.
have the potential to be nominated, so I can't.
Yeah.
But I hope so.
Not a whole lot of good movies that come out yet.
Detective Pikachu is apparently very good.
It's already out.
No, but the reviews, are
reviews.
flying in, and it's apparently really good. So we'll be talking about that at some point in the near future as well. So check that out whenever we get to it, when it's out.
Okay.
But,
Favorite scene in this movie? Go.
oh shit.
You got 3 hours of material.
Yeah, when Captain America and Thor swapped hammers.
Okay.
That was funny.
You go.
No, you go.
I'm thinking
I asked
of
a question.
2.
Okay, too much. Seeing Captain America getting the hammer is just so easy. So, you know what? Well, I thought was a really good scene. That scene when Scott Lang was just trying to have a taco.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was completely blown away.
Hulk
not
just
only-
walks by.
Yeah, and not only really funny, but also like established how much of a nice guy Hulk is now because he offered his tacos to.
He's just like, here, take these tacos.
Like, here
man."
you go, pal.
Yeah, have a taco.
Uh,
Everybody was like shitting on Scott Lang this whole movie.
Yeah, everyone kind of was, which is
he's an
ironic
idiot out
because-
front.
Yeah, it's ironic because he was the most important character of this movie.
Right? He's the key to the whole thing.
Yeah.
For me, I'm going to have to go with the moment when everyone just showed up to fight. Because I literally am sitting there in my
It's
chair.
a valid moment.
I'm sitting there in my chair, and not only one time, not 2 times, but not 3, but 4 times did I get chills.
Oh, it was
I got chills,
powerful.
and then when the whole moment, from the start of the fight to when Tony Stark is passed away, those were my favorite moments of that entire movie.
That was a heart stopper.
That really was.
And I mean, I had chills. I cried. I just was like, oh man.
And that's what I meant. There was shit that happened in this movie that I didn't think I would ever
never
see.
had a superhero movie give me chills. Never. At all.
Well,
It's kind of testament to how well this paid off.
Yeah.
yeah, the Russo brothers.
Well done to the cast and crew for this project. Well done.
Yeah.
You
off
maybe
to-
that's what Pepper Potts was saying to the audience, and they closed Tony Stark's eyes.
Oh, you can
So-
rest now.
Yeah, to the crew, you can rest now.
to the
We're gonna take a
crew,
fucking break.
to all the cast members.
You
You
can
can rest now.
rest.
You don't have to work for this for like a year at least.
Yeah, unless you're Tom Holland, but
Oh, he's already done.
yeah, he's done one, but you can rest now.
I mean, yeah, like, well done. I mean,
And I think that's goes the same for us as well.
Yeah, I'm about to say,
'Cause
like,
what time is
speaking
it? It's
of
like
you can
2 in the
rest now-
morning.
Yeah, we've been doing this up until 2 in the morning. I'm pretty beat. I want to go. Well, ladies and gentlemen,
go
that
see the movie.
concludes our Avengers Endgame spoiler review. We all think you should go out and see it. It's out in theaters right now. And do not forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Links to our social media can be found in the description at the Slacking Off Show. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time.